what's good, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Live Wire Sports Media. All right, this is my post-game video of the Indiana Fever losing the first game of the season to the Atlanta Dream, 91-90, in a game where they trailed all game long into the last 2 minutes of the game, to where they was able to take the lead 90-89, and then Kelsey Mitchell committed a foul on Ryan Howard, sent it to the line, and pretty much that's the game. But nevertheless, is that the game seemed out of sorts from the beginning. The Fever kept struggling. The Fever did not get in the sync. Every time they had a momentum, or cut into the lead, they definitely, the Atlanta Dream pushed it back up. They kept pushing the lead back up. Um, Breonna Jones and Brittany Griner dominated. They dominated. They had, they did what they needed to do. I mean, I can't front on that. We didn't have no answer for them. We didn't have no answer for them at all, and it looked bad. Now, I think I think some of it is that we didn't space the floor line, and I said this during my live stream, is that the the Atlanta Dream is lengthy. I think they had the most lengthy size in the league. And then probably you could go with New York after that. Those two teams right there gonna cause Indiana problems. And but Indiana had a chance to win this game as well. Because if you hit your free throws, guess what happens? You win the game. And I'm disappointed in Natasha Howard. Now, some people, one thing I'm not gonna do is beat up on players, and say, oh, well, this is why this team doesn't want this player. This is why they got rid of her. This is why they ain't signed her back. She has had a heck of a career. Yeah, she has missed 8 free throws in the last 2 games. That's unacceptable. To be honest, that's unacceptable. And they need to be doing free throw drills the rest of the way. They need to, because this is almost like how Nalissa Smith did, in the last year. But when you miss 8 free throws straight in a row, dating back to the last game, that's kind of hard. That is kind of hard to overcome, because you went to the line 26 times and you missed 10. If you had converted them, that's what? That's, you had 90 points. That's 100 points. That is 100 points. So that's 100 points. And you cannot have that. Now, I'm going to show you the final last second of the game, because this is the most crucial part, because I didn't understand the offense defense sequence that Stephanie White did. And again, we're not going to beat up on the coach, because she did her part. She challenged calls because the referees wasn't even giving us a call. Caitlin Clark got knocked down a couple of times. She should have been to the free throw line a lot more. And it seemed like every time we touch the Atlanta Dream player, they get to the free throw line. You know, and DeWanda Bonner almost got her knees cut out from under her. They had to challenge that. That should have been a flagrant foul, and 2 shots and the ball. They just gave the Fever the possession of that. Bad officiating all the way around, man. And you can't. And Caitlin Clark addressed that. But I'm gonna show you this last play of the game, because I feel like Caitlin Clark, she needs to take the last shot of the game. Knowing that Natasha Howard has struggled all game, why would you give her the last attempt to score? Caitlin Clark should have had that opportunity. Kelsey Mitchell should have had that opportunity. Either one of them two, but you don't give it to. If anything, you could have gave it to Leah Boston. Find her down low for her to turn around if you're gonna do that. and then you get blocked, you couldn't recover, and everything like that. This game was, to me, it was poor. I There's no excuse for this game for the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark played lights out. The big three played lights out. They did everything they're supposed to. The others did not show up. The others did not show up in the game. You got Caitlin Clark, 27 points, 5, 11, and 2. She done had 2 steals in 2 games already. Leah Boston, 24-10, double-double, 4 assists, 2 blocks. She's up to 6 blocks already in 2 games. Kelsey Mitchell, 24 points, 2 assists, 1 steal. Lexi Hall, 6 points, 3 rebounds. She need more touches. Natasha Howard, she's a +7, don't know, understand. She had 9 rebounds, 6 points, but she was atrocious from the free throw line. DeWanda Bonner, 16 minutes, no points, only 1 assist, 3 rebounds. That's unacceptable. DeWanda Bonner should have been able to get some touches, free up, mismatches to get her some shots. She needs to be able to shoot the ball. She needs to contribute. That's what she's there for, to score also, not just specifically defense, but she needs to be able to do what she needs to do. Bree Turner, and I'm going to say this. Bree Turner came in and she might not score, but her defense, chasing down, block shots, and rebounding, that's what she's there for. She had 1 point, 1 block in the game in 9 minutes, but she was able to hustle, keep them off the board, and stuff like that. Sydney Colson, 6 minutes. She turned the ball. I think she had turned the ball over. She had 2 points, 1 rebound. And Dantas only played 3 minutes. I don't even understand why Damaris Johnson didn't even get more minutes. To me, I think Damaris Johnson should have got more minutes over Natasha Howard. If you know Natasha Howard was struggling the way she was, you could have put, especially, you could have had Leo Boston and Dantas in the game at the same time. You know why? Because Dantas could have stretched either BG, or she could stretch Brianna Jones out and be able to hit shots. That's what that would could have been the matchup right there, because Brianna Jones likes to play face. And then one thing I said is Brianna Jones, she's good in that little mid range under the basket, and she rebounds well. So, and Stephanie White knows that. You know, I wonder why Stephanie White didn't try to recruit her over there. I think she would have been, to me, but you didn't want to have a front line that's slow because you want to run and be fast. So, and then you don't want to come off the bench. So she would have had to been a starter. So anyway, nevertheless, but there was so many different things in this game that should have took place. I'm gonna let y'all listen to what Caitlin Clark had to say about the officiating and the missed free throws.
But, it's tough when Coach White is put in a position to have to use both her challenges in the first half on calls that were pretty point blank, and then we're left with none there in the second half, which, you can pick and choose. Maybe you save it, maybe you don't, but still, like, every single possession matters. But like I said, it doesn't come down to that. No matter what, if it's a choppy game, we got to find a way to find our flow a little bit better, especially to start the game and start the second half, for sure.
And that's, yeah, because the Fever started off so slow, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna be optimistic. I think they could bring it back. They could bring it back. They could bring it back. But this is where Sophie Cunningham was much needed in this game. And Sophie Cunningham presence would have changed a lot of it, her energy. Because I said this, instead of have Kelsey Mitchell on Ryan Howard, you could have used Lexi Hall on her. You could have moved Kelsey Mitchell on the other young lady. Or if you could have taken Kelsey Mitchell out, and if you had Sophie Cunningham, you could have had Sophie Cunningham and Ryan Howard. You would have forced Ryan Howard to give up the ball. That would have ran out the seconds on the clock. You would have won the game because you would have been able to put pressure. And then you could have used Sophie and Lexi to trap Ryan Howard, to force her to, make a bad turnover or whatever without fouling. So let's not count the importance that Sophie Cunningham brings to this team. Her presence would have been much needed because guess what? She would have been able to run the floor, had the ball in her hand. DeWanda Bonner probably would have got easier looks. And see, Natasha Howard, she doesn't kick out the pass. She's more like, up here, whatever the case might be. So I feel like at the end of the day, they're gonna have to find a little bit more fluidity because you can't have a situation like this where Kelsey Mitchell, Leah Boston, and Caitlin Clark carrying the whole load without others contributing. You can't. You got to have a well balanced and stuff like that. And you see how they was blitzing Caitlin Clark all game long. They used Ryan Howard. They used Alicia Gray. They was using everybody all the time on her, throwing bodies at her, keeping keeping her from passing the ball, blinding her spots. And then finally, when they went on that 7-0 run, run around the 2 minute mark, it was easy. Now I'm gonna let you listen to what Caitlin said about the ref.
I mean, we still went to the line 26 times, missed 10. So that's the game, really, right there. It doesn't obviously doesn't come down to that, but it's just the little things. But I thought the fourth quarter was our defense. Our defense was great.
In the fourth quarter, their defense was great. If they had apply that defense early on in the game, they probably could have walked away with this game and everything like that. And then you go to the line 26 times and you miss 10. And majority of the misses is Natasha Howard. Caitlin missed a few, but it wasn't that bad because she made up for it. When they went on that run, Lexi hit a 3. Then you had Leah Boston hit a 2. Then Caitlin came back to back with 2 threes. But if you're not stopping them on defense, you're allowing them to do what they need to do. Now, unfortunately, they got to play this team again Thursday down in Atlanta. And this is where they're going to have to really get focused. And I still believe that most of their issues came from Saturday's game because they had the momentum going into this game. But then they lost it because of all the distractions that was surrounding the team. And they got to talk about it. They got to get mentally prepared, and they probably wasn't there mentally. But then they had to will their way to come in, and they almost snuck that game out. Do I think a better showing from the Indiana Fever on Thursday? Yeah, and I do believe Sophie Kellingham is going to play Thursday. I don't think that Sophie Kellingham is going to sit out another game because she's going to be very, very needed on the floor. And having her presence on the floor is going to help neutralize a lot of things that the Atlanta Dream was able to do. Now, Brittany Griner fouled out. Ryan Howard was in foul trouble, but you had no answer for Bree Jones. That's the thing. I would have loved to see Michaela Tipson came in and play defense on Ryan Howard. That would have been a good another option too in that last few seconds. Say, hey, Michaela, play defense on her. Don't foul her. Stay in front of her. Michaela length, her shiftiness would have kept Ryan Howard and made them get the ball up. So they blew that last minute opportunity and everything like that. Now, let's talk about some other things that happened in the game. Where Caitlin Clark sets another record. And the way she was playing in this game, it looks like she was on another triple double watch. So she actually, and luckily the WNBA put this out. Caitlin Clark continues to rewrite her own name in the record books. Like when you hear this say, she said her own name. Said with her performance tonight versus the Dream, she ties Courtney Vandersloot for the most 20 plus points, 10 assists game in WNBA history. Now she has 42. Sloot did it in 394 games. That's bad. And then became the first player in WNBA history to open the season with back-to-back 20 and 10 games, 20 points and 20 assists. The first player ever to do that. Then she became the first player in WNBA history with multiple games of 25 points, 10 assists, and 5 rebounds, and 5 3-pointers. The first player to ever do that. Then she's totaled her sixth 25-point plus assist game, passing Sabrina Nescu for the most in WNBA history. So, like I said, Caitlin Clark is rewriting her own history. She's writing her own story, and she's doing first that nobody as 28, 9 years in the WNBA history, and this young lady comes along and sets records that has never touched and breaking them. So, what do I expect in the Fever rematch with the Dream on Thursday? I expect a win. I expect a more dominant win, and I expect them to get back to the basics. Like I said before, guys, these games like this is going to toughen up the Fever later on down the line. It's early in the season, and we don't need to continue to panic and say, "Well, the offense doesn't work." But I do believe Caitlin Clark needs the ball in her hand in the final minutes, stretches a game, because now what they was doing that was working was they was having her off ball, but then they was swinging around and give her the ball, you know, so she could get loose. And instead of having her bring the ball up because they was pressuring her, so they was getting her off ball. Then when she gets loose, she gets the ball back in her hand. But when it's down to the last final minutes, 3 minutes or something in the game, if you're not blowing the team out, then guess what? Guess what? You are able to have the ball in your best player hand and let her facilitate the offense. And please, if it's the last shot on the clock, do not give it to anybody else but either Kelsey Mitchell or Kelsey Mitchell or Caitlin Clark. They could create off the dribble and they could get their own shot. So that's my take on it. I wasn't happy with this game. It was not the game that I expected. I think that at the end of the day, they just need to really focus, and it's going to take time because the chemistry issue. But just ranting and raving about what who should be doing this or what this didn't happen. Pinpoint thing. Continue to move the ball around, share the ball. But now you see what happens when one person is not in the lineup and affects the game. Sophie Cunningham would have helped. Sophie Cunningham would have won this game for them because she would have been able to play lockdown defense on Alicia Gray or Ryan Howard. Ryan Howard wouldn't even have no points. Then you had to worry about it because nobody else's was scoring. So that's the thing that you have to look at. Now, would there be more adjustments to this? Yeah, it'll go be adjustments because then now the Fever knows what they're going to have to do. And me personally, I think Sophie Cunningham will start in ahead of Natasha Howard the next game. I could bet money on that. Sophie Cunningham will start against the Atlanta Dream on Thursday because the fact of the matter is that they need offense. They need offense, defense. They need to get up. They need to get a fast start. They don't need to start out slow. So that's my prediction for Thursday. But again, like, comment, subscribe. This is your cool down Tuesday edition of Live Wire Sports Media post game. The Atlanta Dream upset the Indiana Fever 91-90, where the Indiana Fever suffers their first loss of the season, and the Atlanta Dream won their first game of the season. But these two do play again on Thursday, so let's see what happens. Until then, you know what it is, and if you don't know, now you know.
Hey, so amazing. You see how they playing? Live Wire, it's all about sports and entertainment. You don't want to miss it, so official like you never seen. Keep it going till the whistle blowing from the referee. Everything from highlights and stats. You know that we gotta run it back, whether on the field or the court. You know that this is where it's at. Subscribe, no delaying.